Hello, and welcome to the Data Studio RStudio video module, which is part of the Biodata Catalyst powered by 7Bridges onboarding lessons. While following along to this video, please keep in mind some key concepts. The first is that interactive Data Studio sessions allow you to perform analyses directly where your data is. Second, Data Studio allows you to save the outputs of analyses to your project space. Third, today we'll be using RStudio as the computational environment. At the end of the video, you will be able to create a new Data Studio instance using the RStudio environment, import a file from your BDC project, and then modify and save that file to your BDC project. Before we begin, I'm going to explain the directory structure of the 7Bridges cloud instance inside a Data Studio session. The file structure looks like this. /sbgenomics is the root directory for the instance, and it has subdirectories output-files, project-files, and workspace. sbgenomics/project-files is where your files are located and can be accessed from. This directory is read-only, not writable. sbgenomics/output-files is writable, and it is where you should save files to have them show up in your files view or be accessible for apps. sbgenomics/workspace is the special directory created for interactive sessions. This directory is read and write, but files here are not accessible to apps. The files here are directly accessible to the Data Studio session. This fourth directory that I didn't mention, projects, actually leads to the same location as project-files, but by a longer file path, so the project files directory is provided for convenience. So I'm logged into my workspace at BDC-Seven Bridges, and I'll open my project. And in my project description, I've written out what I'm going to demonstrate in this tutorial. I'm going to open a Data Studio session using the RStudio environment, import a file from my project file, modify that file, and then save the modified file to BDC-Seven Bridges. So let's start by going to the Data Studio tab. And then we have no analyses yet, but once we've created one, they'll be saved here and you'll be able to revisit them and rerun them. I'm going to click Create New Analysis. And you can see here we've got 3 different kinds of analyses. Today we're going to be looking at RStudio. And I'm just going to name this Demo of RStudio. One of my first options here is what my environment setup will be. This is the Docker image and the set of packages that will be preloaded into RStudio for you. You can always get more information about anything on BDC-Seven Bridges by clicking on the question marks. Today, I'm going to use the default SB Bioinformatics RStudio, which comes with R 4.4 and Bioconductor 3.19. The second choice I have is the instance type. This refers to the size of the virtual machine that will be spun up to run this Data Studio. The default is the C5.2x large, which is 34 cents per hour. But I know that for what I'm doing right now, I don't need something that powerful. So I'm actually going to click the down button and I'm going to type C5.x large to get a half-sized instance at 17 cents per hour. The attached storage is the elastic storage that's available to the workspace. We're not going to need very much of this today, so I'm just going to put 200 gigabytes. One of the most important things when you are working with Data Studio sessions is this suspend time. Again, you can click the tooltip to get more information. This is the period of inactivity after which the instance is stopped automatically and the analysis is saved. This is a cost guardrail. It's very easy to accidentally walk away from your computer and leave an interactive session running. And so depending on what you set your suspend time to, you'll be giving yourself some grace period to remember that you had something running. we do not recommend turning off the suspend time. All of that established, we will hit Start to request the resources and provision the instance. You will see this screen. There are 3 things that have to happen before the RStudio session will start up. This phase of getting the analysis environment up and running can sometimes take 3 minutes. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee. So now my interactive Data Studio session has started up. And if you are familiar with RStudio, you'll be very comfortable in this environment. It is simply a cloud-based RStudio. So the important thing to know is how you can access your project files. I'm going to actually click over to the Terminal tab so that I have a bash prompt. And I'm going to use a few bash commands to examine how my directory structure works. So if I do ls for listing, I can list my SB Genomics directory and see the directory structure that I mentioned earlier. If I look in the project-files directory, I'll see a fake data CSV that I made for this purpose. I am going to copy that fake data over to my workspace. Oops, I forgot to put the file name in. There we go. And so now we see over in my files pane that my fake data.csv has been written here. Let's start a script and we will go ahead and save it to start with. And let's read this fake data.csv file into memory. So it's important to know what our working directory is. If you do get working directory and hit run, it'll show you that the working directory you start up in is sbgenomics/workspace. So we can make a data frame and read our CSV file. I know that I can use tab complete here. And we're going to say header equals true and read that file in. So we see we have 16 observations of 3 variables. We have months, names of humans, and mythical creatures. It doesn't really make much sense to have a calendar that goes past December. So we're just going to remove the last 4 rows. We will, in our script, type data.df, and we'll only take rows 1 through 12 and all the columns. And that gives us just our 12-month year. Now what we want to do is write it out to another file. We'll do write.csv, data.df, and then we can call this modified data.csv. I usually like to do quote equals false and row names equals false, but that's just me. What's important to do is to be able to actually save this file so I can use it later. Now, I won't be able to access this file with my apps if it's inside my Data Studio workspace. I need it to go to my project files. But as you remember, the project files are read-only, not write. If I try to copy my modified data to sbgenomics/project-files, it will tell me read-only file system, cannot create file. So what I need to do instead is copy this to my output files. That directory structure is this one. You are able to navigate directly to directories by clicking this elliptical menu here. So you can click SB Genomics, type SB Genomics, and see the directories. We can see that the modified data is in my output files. We can also see that right now that modified data is not in my project files, and it will not be until I stop this Data Studio session. Right now, this output files directory is more like a staging area. The files are ready to be written out, but they haven't been yet. This is just one of the little idiosyncrasies about working with the cloud. I'm going to be a good data scientist and save my script, and then I'm going to hit stop so that this virtual machine can shut down and save my output files where I want them. You will get a warning that says all unsaved changes will be lost, but for the most part, RStudio is actually very good about saving your place, as it were, in the .r history. And stopping the analysis is actually the only way you can save the output files. So just go ahead and click confirm, and it will say the analysis is saving. You'll come back out to the Data Studio tab. And now that we've actually started this Data Studio session, we have a little page for it. Once it finishes saving, we'll actually see our files and other output there. Yes, there we go. So inside our workspace, that's the special directory for the Data Studio, we have the fake data.csv, the modified data.csv, and then we also see this outputs report that we have modified data.csv here. So now if I go to my files tab, I do see both of my files. My modified data.csv only has 12 months in it. To recap, Data Studio allows you to perform analyses on the cloud using your preferred analysis environment. Data Studio also allows you to save the outputs of your analysis to your projects on BDC-Seven Bridges. RStudio on the cloud works just as it does on your local machine, but with tight integration to BDC-Seven Bridges. Thanks for watching.